Welcome to the Biotech Startups podcast by Exceeder. Join us as we speak with first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs, and experienced investors about the challenges and triumphs of running a biotech startup, from pre-seed to IPO, with your host, John Chou. In our last episode, Dr. Chou shared stories from her childhood in Taiwan, her unconventional path to medical school through physics, and how a heartbreaking encounter with a dying leukemia patient set her on a mission to find solutions. If you missed it, check out part 1. In part 2, Dr. Chou talks about her transition from Harvard to industry, rolling up her sleeves to learn biomanufacturing despite having no background in it, and why she left AbbVie when the company went idle after Humira's launch to join Wyeth. She shares how she pioneered high-throughput screening for biologics, earning the nickname High-Throughput Lady until her methods became industry standard and generated 10 grams per litre antibody production for the first time. She also recounts being recruited to Genentech to build a product-driven department in Oceanside, why Anne Lee's vision to break vertical silos became her next startup within a major company, and how this department generated much of the pipeline Genentech still develops today.
Obviously, that's very, very kind of that in itself is a coveted role and a coveted position to be in. How did you know it was time to leave AbbVie?
Well, before I answer your question, if I may, I'd like to comment the first thing you say about this management and a little bit about get your hands dirty, right? I do think in biotech industry is so it's absolutely multidisciplinary. So I do honor there are two types of leaders, right? Because most of the leader, I would say, getting to later on my position, like running thousands of people organization, running the whole business, you cannot possibly know everything. You just cannot also possibly master everything. So most of the people have a good skill set. I think maybe 3 types. The one type is then really good at managing. Still, will be successful business leader, particularly in big pharma. And there's another type about you know something, you know of something. And then the third type, maybe like you say, you get your hands dirty about, you have to know everything. Probably the third one, you will become more about the expertise of the kind of like the expert of a certain discipline. So that's usually you see that like a department of cell biology or something like that. And then the other extreme, you can be big CEO of the billion-dollar company. And at somewhere in the middle, still I would say in my peers group, there are a lot of people are probably just very good at managing people, which is so the point I want to say is I consider those leaders still good, don't get me wrong.
Different style.
Yeah, the style, yeah. So there are quite a bit of successful leader like this and like the big pharma leader. I have this unique part, which I am not going to say every single leader should be doing this, but I think start from my first job, as we're talking about, even up to today, if I'm managing 5 different disciplines and there are 3 new things, I don't allow myself just being a good manager of the 3 new things. This is good or bad for people reporting to me, they all know. So I will really kind of roll my sleeve up, trying to at least get myself 50% good at this. To your point, I do think it's important. So less about I want to compete with my department, but more about
I'm going to be better than you.
Yeah, I know, but more about I want to appreciate them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just talk like, okay, let me finish up. I'll still say, I don't really want to talk just like a cheerleader only.
Yeah.
And this is the bar I set to myself. And I do want to say, any sentence I say, I'm not looking down for other people, like can only cheer up everybody, because that is also good. Many of us, report to someone like that, right? So it doesn't know your discipline, but it's like, you encourage you and things like that. So anyway, the point I want to say, there are definitely different styles. But I do appreciate you recognize I am having this style, good or bad, I would say.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So definitely
I'm the same way.
Yeah, people in my department, will feel a little bit intimidated. I admit that, but I think
It's
I
empathy.
must too. Yeah.
There's like an
Yeah,
empathy
that's
element to
true.
it. It's
Yeah,
it's like empathy. It's like I know how hard this shit is. Like so I can empathize when
exactly.
it's like when things don't work out.
That's
I'm like,
true.
I know it's like, oh, that is like, okay, I can appreciate the difficulty here. Because like I feel like sometimes, at least I'm speaking for me now, where it's like, if I don't get my hand, like if I don't like learn it, I can't actually appreciate the good
That's
or the
right.
bad. Like
Exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm looking at. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you get a greater appreciation, which then for me leads to a more empathetic kind of like working relationship.
I do think so. And then about move out of the AbbVie. So that time, most of people ask me this question differently. I'll probably reframe your question because Humira turns out to be one of the most successful drugs in the world, right? And so that's where it starts at the time. And I know people insider, if you ask everybody at the AbbVie, when Humira was first launched, and there's a huge poster. I remember a town hall meeting about, yay, we got this drug launch, and then we are going to project this drug will be a success of every year, going to bring 500 million to the company. So
Ah!
you look at now later on for 20 years, every year, 20 billion. That was not
It was
expected.
different. Yeah, it was
It
different.
was very, very different. So that's probably explain quite a bit of your question about because this company that acquired by Abbott and become this Abbott Bio Research Center in Worcester, I mean, outside of Boston. It was they basically just have as an idol. Basically, like, well, we're not quite sure we want to do another biologics. Let's see how if this will be successful or not. People don't believe the story. They always say like, no, not possible because it's such a successful drug. No, we're not quite sure. We feel like in the whole world, only Genentech can have a monoclonal antibody, and we were studied to death about their BOA and trying to get so good at it. So we still, but anyway, so that probably comes my answer about I am really not very, or I was also, I mean, not very good at being idle. Like we just do a little bit wishy-washy stuff keep in mind about, I say, I put down my beloved track and medical school, trying to make a difference. And I feel like I cannot just stop this, right? I have to move on to do something meaningful. So that was that. And I don't want to blame Abby about this, but was the time that's still pondering about the benefit, about introducing a biologic, the whole doubt really triggered me to my luxury, this is the one and only job I ever apply. So later on, all my job is always people come to recruit me. So seriously, so at that time at Abbott, the only job I applied was later on at Wyeth. So at that, even when I joined, it was first called Genetic Institute. I know this has become such an aged the name. So this was the last era of Genetic Institute. So I think they are doing, because they are doing a lot of different pipelines and biology. Now I feel like I'm good at this, right? And I got to be in a place to see if we can develop more drugs. That's why, just to answer your question, then I apply the job. So give Wise all the credit because I never applied any job since then. And even my first job, as I told you about the story. So my entire career in the industry, one and only job I applied was that. So I was hired to play a role more or less in this multidisciplinary again, like then create the analytical tools to address the cell culture, purification, the biomanufacturing question. So I getting deeper and deeper into the development world since my first job because of that.
Interesting. And I'm going to imagine like Pfizer or Wyeth, eventually Pfizer,
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
they're like, oh, this is an adjustment.
No, now you say it. I would say well, culture-wise, I don't think huge difference. However, I was hired. You know, I never thought about this way. I have to say, this moment just click. I was hired to create a new department in some sense. At the time, so you know, in the biomanufacturing world, the cell culture purification and formulation, and then also analytical, four most important disciplines. And but Wyeth has at that time been very famous developing the one of the most difficult express protein. So then you can imagine getting to the analytical department will be something need to be fully purified, formulated, and then you can characterize that. Otherwise, in between, it's just extremely difficult. You have to look at all those non-post-translational modified molecule and things like that. That's hard. So that every discipline is very clear. And however, the challenging for cell culture particularly, like in the very beginning, right, cell line and cell culture, you want to know the answer, then you can improve. Otherwise, it will be very, very difficult. So I'm going to talk about something nowadays become commonly accepted, but in my day wasn't. And then, so the question pushed me to think about is then, can you create some tools, the analytical tools, in the process about cell culture, purification, formulation, we kind of can pick on those answers. So given my background about at AbbVie, at Humira was on this analytical protein calculation, and then, but academia-wise, I was in cell biology and biochemistry, so they want me to create that. So I think probably not a, wow, this is so easy, but more about then I need to create that tool. But I do think the innovation thing just click right in, right? Because I have to kind of thinking about certain things. I give a lot of my managers at that time the credit because they would, I wouldn't call desperate, but really eager to like feel like this is something they couldn't figure out, right? So I was the first one. This is why I will brag about this because some people ask me if I'm thinking about on the technical side, which kind of things that I feel most proud about in the whole biotech. I was the first one starting thinking about how can we creating those and maybe I wasn't the first one think about it, but I first one actually create this whole thing about how can we introduce the bioanalytical tool. So the golden sentence now people still use that. I will take that credit. The analytical is the eyes and ears of the biomanufacturing. So that sentence is keeping going on till today. The high-throughput screening about from the get-go for cell line screening and cell culture was totally not present. And now, since we chat so much about my background, probably, hopefully it doesn't surprise you, because what I did is then I walk around looking at a small molecule, how they be innovative. And I see this high throughput, I say, well, got to be high throughput, something need to come to biomanufacturing. But everybody think I'm crazy, seriously. And now you say, well, this is now everybody does this. No, it was the day people say that's really crazy thought because the biologics take time. Takes all those things and it's just not possible to do high throughput. So I even have a nickname from that day for a while called High Throughput Lady. They were joking about like, oh, there's a High Throughput Lady come along, starting to throw that idea. So I would say that my manager say, okay, since she seems to have some good idea. So they gave me the biorobot, the TCAN, and some of the high throughput tools, the small molecule people do. So a lot of nowadays, even in the industry, in the equipment side, a lot of, and I don't know the name, the reason why we know each other so well, because I was the one trying to make their tool or the equipment or the instrument to make it useful for the non-purified protein, right? So then I introduced this whole high throughput concept about screening hundreds of clones from the beginning, not just for productivity, but also for the quality of the protein quality. And I filed many, many patents out of that time. And this whole, now it's actually, I'm very, very proud about not become the paradigm. Every company does this, was starting from this high throughput screening from the cell line, not just looking at the productivity expression level, but also looking at the key characteristic about the protein, will they be able to do something? And that creating those tools and have that breakthrough was I'm most proud about. So then we were no surprise at Wyeth's time. This is really a long time ago, 20 some years ago. We were the first one generate a production with 10 grams per liter of monoclonal antibody production. Today is still like a wow, right? So because of that, because that high throughput tool, and people starting to appreciate that. I gave really some credit about my department head, particularly his name is Tim Schalbos. He was the only I would say probably one of the only one. Consider I'm not crazy and say, okay,
Yeah.
if she has this idea, let's just give it a shot. So
You
she,
need people like that.
yeah, you need that. So I wish I can come up with a story about, I just make it, because in biotech, it's a little bit different from high tech if we do that comparison, right? I can do this out of my garage or something like that. That's high tech. Unfortunately, biotech, you really do need more of those. This is more complicated. I think back, I take a lot of credit, but at the same time, I give team and many others credit about they don't know how that look like, but they say, well, seems like she has some good idea. So I have those sort of fancy tools. That's why the High-Throughput lady was a little bit mocking rather
I like
than
that.
credit.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
and yeah, that's cool. At that time, frankly speaking, I'm not like proud. I said, whatever you want to call me, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Like it. So then I have those tools and create this, and you you name it. And now you go to every single biotech company. Everybody has a high tech, TCAN, the robotic system. We even filed a patent out of it, but later on, YS was in the transition, getting to, I should say, GI is in transition to YS, and YS was in this whole mode about later on. We continue that patent file until probably before Pfizer. But anyway, we'll later on say, well, may as well just give up on the whole continuing thing. But the point, even though probably nobody going to put my name onto every single robotic tool, but I'm very proud about that shake the field about now monoclonal antibody become a commodity. Right? Otherwise, if it's so handcraft like we did with
Yeah, just
Humira,
like perfectly like artisan, like
yeah, like one at a time, and now you can screen multiple one and try to identify the one to narrow down and from the gene transfection to the IND, the limited time. Because of that tool, I wouldn't say only because of that tool, but I feel very proud about. But to kind of come back to your original question, I do think it was difficult because you can imagine a lot of people, there's a High-Throughput lady like mocking about, she's just crazy about, I don't know why she's even got a job having a department. And then to the point about, I later on earned a president award out of the whole YS. Again, I give some of my manager different credit, and I did write an article to give the credit. My K Mark, he was the YS Biotech head. He nominated me, and you have to understand this president award is the person make a biggest business impact of the year of the entire YS. Most of the time, yeah,
sick.
most of the time people give this to the sales and those
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
then
exactly.
yeah,
President's
yeah.
like kind of like President's Club almost. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, almost similar.
but Mike also honored that. He feels this is so important. You know, Pfizer still owns this Grange Castle biomanufacturing in Ireland. And I think the other person, Bob Ruffalo, research head, even praised me about like if we would have used Dr. Chow's technology, we probably don't need to build so many facilities because
Yeah, like
our
God damn it. Like why did we do all this? Like we're just brute forcing it right now. The and something that really like, really stood out to me like about this kind of experience is having the willingness to kind of because I can imagine why Wyeth when you joined was a pretty decently large company, and it takes a lot of courage to kind of like shake things up inside of a bigger organization. Because I think larger organizations kind of have this inertia that there's like we're just going to keep doing it this way, and you
exactly.
can come in, shake it up a little bit, yeah, and it's not comfortable. Sometimes it's not, but and then what's especially important too is as you mentioned is having someone who can give you some like cover to let you shake things up. Because if when you don't have that, it just makes it really hard. You're just like shaking it up on your own, and it may not come to fruition. But I think it's important for anyone who sees someone trying to do something different and try to improve on something, even though it's not the kind of way you do things right now or is the status quo, is to give them the room to do it. Um, and let it blossom. Because and look at the impact here, like massive impact. And the other part that stood out to me too, it's kind of like your physics engineering kind of like kind of coming back.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like coming back and just
Now
like
you know,
applying.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Like now,
Now
like
you know.
it
Most
makes
of people are like, huh, how did you come up with those idea? And I think, yeah, that is in my heart still. As I say, I always say the three passions just guide me even up to today is science, innovation, and helping patients, right? So these three things, when it merged together, that's how it's come to like, well, if the current technology is limited, is then you have to do this whole lengthy production to know if you got a good protein or not. Well, if there's something really you can address that to accelerate. So I do think probably that was the place I started to define. I'm going to be the one like on a mission to accelerate the whole development of this biologics or any drug, right? So acceleration is the thing. It's not just I like the speed, but also, that's important because that make a difference. Yeah.
it makes a difference not just in your organization, but like you said, now it's like broadly, it's a broadly accepted and broadly applied methodology, and it's an unlock on multiple fronts. It pushes the whole industry forward, which is important.
It's important, and maybe allow me to kind of expand that. That's probably what getting to the next about the Genentech life, because I do think those are the days. I am not that close to that technical area anymore, and now because I'm running a business, but I think those are the day, the biomanufacturing or bioprocess development, people are really close. So we are very willing to share the knowledge because it was a lot of things need to break. Like I say, like you just pointed out, right? It's become a boutique thing, like one at a time. Everybody
Yeah.
have this whole the special skill set to make things forward. So that's not everybody kind of starting feel limited, and it was getting widely displayed because that was the year I after I have everything together and we have a result about this 10 gram per liter and things like that. And was let me go out to I was speech in a CCE conference, the cell culture and engineering. So that's in cell culture, the top notch, and the recovery and then purification. So almost like the top conference I was highlighted in their conference. And the key thing is not about me getting that recognition, but more about other people say, hey, this is really cool and good. I have my, this Genentech colleagues definitely come to me. I know of them, but we didn't work together. We'll be like, hey, this is the best talk I have been hearing for years. Probably no surprise. This is probably a good segue about then they feel like that's what we need, right? That's what Genentech need. So the important thing, just to echo the point, I do think the spirit about to share and this happy families culture at that time, because that was the time maybe to a lot of people didn't not aware about YS is producing Genentech's, I think it was a Herceptin. And then like we cross manufacturing for each other, trying to share that, because this was the beginning of the biotech. And somehow I think we all have that spirit about to help each other to overcome the difficulties. Now it become commodity, definitely. Then it's more competitive, like
Yep.
the trade secret. But was something not like we get out to talk about everything trade secret, but you know of who knows what. Then you can kind of humbly to seek for advice. Yes,
Yeah, it's like the problem's too hard to take it on solo.
exactly.
It's too hard. Like,
Yeah.
we need to work together here, or else we're just never going to solve this. But obviously, there's like things that you can't be sharing. But there's like, but there, if it moves, it's kind of that saying of like the rising tide raises all ships. Like you kind of like help each other, and everyone gets better for it, and we continue on. And was that how like you got in? So it sounded like the Wyeth job was the only one you applied for. Now this one, just via just working, being kind of in kind of the space with the people in Genentech, is that how you kind of got the opportunity came about and you got pulled in?
Genentech at that time, so this is 2005, 2006, have this unique problem. We all know at that time, Genentech's research team is super productive, right? So creating a lot of things nowadays we be able to introduce to patient. But this bottleneck become the development side. You cannot possibly get so many antibodies through. And so that huge bottleneck, they need to de-bottleneck it. And so then when my talk going on to all those conferences, so the leader of Genentech, her name is Ann Lee. So she's like, we need to get this person. This will help Genentech because then we are having this limit, right? Every year, Genentech pump out 50 pipeline into the development organization. And development organizations are already like 850 people, still not be able to digest.
Yeah,
so
it's too much.
She doesn't,
like,
yeah, she doesn't see, credit to her. She didn't see this solution as hiring more people because you don't have the money. She says something got to be, like we talk about, decoded, right? Somehow break it in a different way. When she heard about my my work, and she later on did call me personally and then ask me my thinking and everything. And then, so they were recruiting hard, I have to say, for more than a year. And because I was an East Coast person up to that point.
Yeah.
My America is East Coast.
Yeah.
So I have never really worked on the West Coast, ironically, but like I don't know why I want to move out. Definitely my side of family also, as I mentioned, my parents are professors. They have even house in Boston. So there's no reason for me to be, like you point out, right? I am this unique kids in the whole family, and I don't need to be the only one being so unique all the time. But of course, fast forward, now I am the only one on the West Coast. So I'm the running away sister. Anyhow, so then they persuade me first will be like all those different positions, but more or less, because Genentech has 850 people, even bigger, way bigger than YS, that we have a department probably just 150 people. And so every single discipline is very well established. And I wasn't so convinced about I can make a difference. And so I do think, to me, the important word as all along, what I want to do is this impact, right? So it's a great position, higher salary or anything, but if it's not the impact I can make, I'm not quite sure. I need to pack my whole family to move to the West Coast. So I wasn't convinced until they create this. This was also to Anne's credit. She's thinking like maybe not just hiring someone with this new technology. How about we give this person a department? So instead of then discipline, this is all like a vertical, right? And we cut horizontal. Now she will have everything. So a little bit of this was also the year Toyota published a paper about they have maybe McKinsey looking to the business model. Is it better, like if they need to create, let's just say SUV, is that better we have a cross department team working on SUV, or is that better we just have an SUV department? You see the difference? Because then if you just do a SUV department, you would still need the people know how to do windshield, the engine, and this. But they are all those disciplines, they're supposed to be very good. That's how there's vertical things coming for all the pharma even nowadays, right? So everything got to be vertical because you all need a deep understanding. Then you can kind of create to this cross-department team. So, but then they publish this article, they try out, and they interestingly point out having a product-driven department is more productive. You get to the product to the end faster. So Anne was very intrigued by this, thinking about we got to create something like that because otherwise we have to hire 2,000 people. So that even the technology could not just solve that. So she persuaded me about, if you come join, not only I will create such a department, but also I'm going to put it outside of the Bay Area. That's very smart. Because the human nature, right? Because Genentech is so big and also so successful, have a bunch of the commercial product. I think it's one of the most lucrative company. So then having a lot of money and then people feel very good and smart people walking around on the campus, if she create anything on the campus, would immediately kind of fall into that stereotype of thinking. So she created that in Oceanside in South California, also benefits some other talents outside. And putting the discipline about the leader cannot be from Genentech. Need to be somebody from outside. Otherwise, it will be the same old,
the same. Yep.
And then for each functional head I hire can be from the campus. That's okay. But the leader, the vision. So I think that's really cool.
It sounds
And
cool. It
even
sounds
though I
cool.
haven't done that to run such a, I was running this different department and doing the apply the technology to different area. Definitely, I mean, they named me as the most cross-functional than anybody else already, but never being like a administrative wise responsible for that. So, and also build the whole company up. So I will name my startup from that day because this was at the Oceanside Genentech acquired from Biogen IDEC. And but it was the one floor, totally empty. Hey, let's build a department, need to have all those functions you need to develop the bioprocess, to have everything, and then connect with the pilot plan. This will be GMP. So expanding my bandwidth really to even more of those engineering and also the biomanufacturing side. I think, well, I don't think anybody will give me such a position to
Yeah.
do that if I continue on this defined track, right? So, well, I guess that sentence came back to me about then, I think it was Thoreau says this, don't go where the path may lead you, instead go where there's no path and leave a trail. So that hit me about that's something I should do. So I took the job not because of the it's just the and one of the jobs. So but fast forward also at Genentech, definitely they quickly realized about they need me to be very, very connected to the main campus. So I have to say throughout my Genentech career, 50% of my time is using this department and fast forward, accelerate. And happy to say a lot of pipeline Genentech have today in phase three or launch was from my department. Uh,
Sick.
yeah. And then, but on the other side, I was the other 50%, I was leading another even more creative thought. This is probably not just Anne, but many even higher manager who many of them now become my board member. So they were see me as having the potential to run even more bigger, like the project lead. So that project 100% people are all in South San Francisco and nobody report to me. That was new to Genentech. Like have somebody, this is what are we talking about, leadership style thing, right? So you have you don't have power to write their performance review, but you have to influence them to share that common goal to move forward. So they feel that's important for me to build that leadership skill set. I really think across all my entire career, Genentech benefit a lot about really taking me to where I was not to be where I am today. They really want to grow me into that role to lead. And I have many, many professional coaches. I'm not going to try to say this. I really do think at the beginning, a lot of people gave me the advice about don't take that because people think like you're so bad. That's why you need a coach. And I was having the same spirit about, no, I mean, let's just see what this coach will help me. Looking back, I really do think those executive coach make them where I am. And also this responsibility. So I need to kind of report to our CEO, Al Levinson, about this was the project created by the creator of Avastin. So this was the angiogenesis. So he was Academy member and Napoleon Ferrari. So it was great. I got to work with this top-notch, Genentech considered the best scientist. And this is his second molecule.
Yeah.
So cannot be scrubbed. And the company really, we have at that time, this is really now warp speed become a thing, right? That's called warp speed project at Genentech. And we have to accelerate and make this fast forward. So that both having a cross-functional department as well as having the cross-functional project I have to lead really was very, very fruitful years when I was at Genentech.
Very cool. And again, it's kind of like I see another theme where Anne was like, I'm gonna just give you it's almost like a sandbox to be creative. I can see the artistry. There's a bit of like, right, you're in the very early part of our conversation. Like how when they asked you like how did your interest in art like this is pretty artistic and creative, by the way. Like,
Okay, thank you.
like I can see it's like you're talking about like breaking boundaries. Like that's like this that's hard to do. That's like a creative endeavor. It's to like
Yeah.
do something like that from scratch, right? It's kind of like this blank canvas and it's a very creative thing. As much as it's not necessarily like physically painting, but it is like a creative endeavor, right? It
I
is a
think
creative
so.
endeavor.
Yeah, and it's no example to follow,
No,
right?
exactly.
And
No, it's blank. It's like, here you go. Like, it's just this blank canvas. And, you know, that's really cool to see. And I think when you were, tasked with this, I guess like did did the McKinsey study like actually did it shake out to what McKinsey said? Like, was it like
I really do want to say, when you go into a bigger established environment and company, you face a lot of headwind for no good reason.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you just say, we just talk about this pretty exciting part, right? There's no example to follow. So many different times. And again, I appreciate my genetic colleagues, but in a bigger organization, it's always like, then why is she going to be doing this? Oh no, that's not going to work, right? So many things you kind of try to address to make sure it works well. First of all, I would look at the positive side. So like I say, proudly to say my department really generate many pipeline. I wouldn't say all the pipeline, but I dare to say really huge amount of pipeline Genentech still benefit today. Um, Second thing, this is hard to answer your question. You can say yes or maybe no. So because later on Roche took over Genentech. So like I say, many headwinds were coming to, we tend to think the bigger organization is more stable, but there's many things can happen, right? Like this acquisition, prioritization, deprioritization. So when Roche took over Genentech, Genentech itself have a hard time to justify remain this development. It's still up to and running today as a commercial manufacturing site. They can no longer to say, hey, this is better. You can brag about South City, San Francisco is the thing, because that's a hub of the biotech. You can brag about you must not kill this, but you cannot argue about Roche has a Germany site in Pennsburg and about Switzerland and those like, and we also have to kill it. So then it kind of agree with Roche. It had to sell that department. So this is still, like I say, still positive side. That become today, if you talk about Gilead Biotech, so that was Gilead at that time did not have the large molecule yet. So Gilead buy my department out. And so it built a whole oceanside site out of it. Of course, I mean, as a company evolve, I heard recently Gilead now want to move everything to the Bay Area. So that's different thing. But Gilead doesn't have that Bay Area footprint. They actually buy this out. So I think probably it's a yes, because that model apparently worked. We didn't build all those very profound vertical department. It's still cross-discipline. That whole department sale to Gilead was they really considered that's a jury they got. But at the same time, can Genentech plug this back to South San Francisco doing that? Most likely no.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably because the size of the company,
yeah, yeah.
and then human nature about hard to kind of combine with that. But if you ask me, do I believe the model about SUV department or SUV team? I do think the department works better if you want to accelerate things. Really, acceleration is important. And if you ask me why is that, I will tell you just one word about mindset. Because your department no longer have the biggest thing about I'm going to have the top cell culture technology. Your goal is I'm going to get this product to the finish line as fast as possible. And with that mindset, really change the whole thing. So that's how, frankly speaking, since Genentech I run my institute, always like that. Very product driven. I call innovation more like an anchor only on the product, but not so much just have this special niche about here and there. And I think I say in my career as well. So innovation in biotech is innovate the product. It's not innovate the technology itself. So you are the most innovative company. You are the most innovative in product. I think that's applicable to high tech as well. I talk about this also a lot about you look at Apple, I consider as a very innovative company. They don't create or invent cheap technology.
I was just going, yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
they
And
use
and
it
they might
to
even be a little bit
create good.
inferior, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But they know how to produce an iPhone, iPad, and this. that is what the goal we should have. So, but bigger organization is hard. I used to run Bayer, the 3,000 people organization. Can I only do that? It's really hard. It will probably take quite a bit of years and changing everybody's mindset.
Be painful too, probably. There'd probably be like people that'd be up in arms, like, I do it this way, like, and now you're changing what I do, and it could probably be like it's kind of like, or you can get like organ rejection.
Yeah, that's very well said. And also as you point out, the comfort zone, right? Because we know what we know, and people good at purification doesn't want to be in an environment competing with people good at formulation. Then they become second-tier scientists, all those things. So it is hard. So definitely, this is probably going to be something we will chat about for the biotech versus the pharma. So probably also explain where I am today too.
That's all for this episode of the Biotech Startups podcast featuring Judy Chou. Join us next time for part 3, where Dr. Chou recounts joining a biosimilar startup as employee number 1 in an empty 50,000 square foot facility, walking into an FDA meeting alone to face 32 agents, and why her medical school friend's death from cancer made biosimilars personal. She'll also unpack building Medivation's lean operation that sold to Pfizer for $14.3 billion, and joining Bayer as the first Asian woman to lead the global biotech organization, where an employee publicly questioned how she got the job. If you're enjoying the show, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. The Biotech Startups podcast is produced by Exceeder. Don't want to miss an episode? Search for the Biotech Startups podcast wherever you get your podcasts and click subscribe. Exceeder provides research labs with equipment leases on founder-friendly terms to support paths to exceptional outcomes. To learn more, visit our website www.exceeder.com. On behalf of the team here at Exceeder, thanks for listening. The Biotech Startups podcast provides general insights into the life science sector through the experiences of its guests. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from the podcast is at the user's own risk. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not the views of Exceeder or sponsors. No reference to any product, service, or company in the podcast is an endorsement by Exceeder or its guests.